meeting English. You don't.
Okay, we'll get started. So good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the All Candidates Forum. I'm Amber Smale, Chief Returning Officer and your facilitator for today's forum. I want to thank you all for coming out today. Before I introduce the candidates, I'd like to acknowledge that the University of Regina is located on Treaty 4 land and the homeland of the Cree, Saulteaux, Dakota, Lakota, Nakota, and Métis Michif. You would have noticed this evening when you logged in that you were prompted for a privacy or consent to stay on the line. So just to note that this session is being recorded. So if you're not comfortable with being recorded, then just keep your video off and stay on mute. You can also ask questions through the chat if you feel more comfortable that way. Otherwise, it's just to let you know that it is being recorded for the purposes of playing this back for others who may not have been be able to attend tonight. So for this forum, we're focusing on the executive and board positions where there's races, but please visit the URSU website to see the full list of candidates for all positions and their profiles. So let's get started. I'll be inviting each candidate in alphabetical order by position. They will be given 2 minutes to address you. Following all presentations for the position, you may then ask questions of all the candidates in those positions. Each candidate will be given an opportunity to answer the same question. I want to be clear, this is not a debate. The candidates will present their platforms and answer your questions. They will not be debating among other candidates or with those in attendance. To ask a question, please unmute your microphone, but be respectful of those who are first to be heard by the group. You may also type your question in the chat and I will ask on your behalf. Please ensure you have a question when you speak up. Okay, so let's meet the candidates. We're going to start first with the Director of Women's Students position. So we had one candidate withdraw recently, so Unifori Jageti will not be participating in this race. So we now have two candidates, Isabella Gracek and Jinpreet Kaur. For the candidates, if I pronounce your name incorrectly, please correct it when it's time for you to speak. So we're going to start with these two candidates. We start in alphabetical order. So Isabella, you have 2 minutes to go over your platform.
Thanks so much, Amber. And you were so close with my last name. It's Graychuk, but you pretty much had it. So that was good. So hi, everyone. My name is Isabella Graychuk, and I'm running for Director of Women's Students. I'm a fourth-year honors student studying international affairs, and I'm ready to make a difference in the lives of women students. As a leader, I have a lot of experience that I believe would make me qualified for the position. I'm the president and founder of an organization. I'm involved with several clubs here on campus, such as EWB and URPolis. I spend a lot of my time volunteering for organizations such as Future Majority, and I've been selected as a delegate for Daughters of the Vote and the Commission on the Status of Women with the United Nations. With all of this experience, I am a strong leader who is ready to listen to and advocate for the needs of all women students. I am passionate about the needs of women students, and there are a number of things that I would like to achieve and work towards if elected. I would like to increase free access to menstrual products in all campus buildings, and I would team up with clubs such as Champions of Change to continue to make this a reality. I promise to advocate for more accessible online mental health services. I promise to encourage more women to step into leadership positions, and I promise to really listen to their voices. I also plan to further facilitate conversations about consent on campus by holding events and social media campaigns to further spread the message to those that it may not always reach. Additionally, I will push for sustainability and environmentally friendly options in every aspect of the university. I am excited and ready to begin making change, and I will collaborate with others to make these ambitious goals a reality. I hope that you will vote for me in the upcoming election and that you will choose me to be the Director of Women Students. Let's make a difference together. Thank you.
Thank you, Isabella. Jinpreet, you're up next.
Hi, I'm Jinpreet Kaur. I'm currently in my second year of health studies program. I'm running for the position of director of women students in the coming elections. I'll be very grateful to see my people supporting me on this. I believe that gender equality is easy to say and something that should be implemented in the ideal world, the one which we will hopefully achieve in due course. I promise. Despite of the fact that Canada is a safe place for women, national report shows that while girls are gaining ground in education, challenges continue to remain. As per me in our university, there's a need to realize the difference between gender equality and equity. By electing me, students can ensure that URSU will believe in proportional representation by race, gender, and class in various opportunities we get here in the universities. Because in this patriarchal society where women are getting paid less and hired even less, there is a need of equity more than equality. Girls at this present time are subjected to different problems like dating violence, self-harm, low self-esteem, and racial discrimination. Speaking of racial discrimination, once I get elected, I would like to address the issue of girls, including Indigenous women, who face many challenges such as lack of access to support and vulnerability to violence. Girls in our university will soon grow into women whose leadership choices, work, and care for family will have a significant impact on Canadian society. So they must be heard and treated the way they deserve to be treated. Along with my various goals, I would like to closely associate with students to ensure that it is easy for everybody to reach out to the authorities. Moreover, I will work closely with the Women's Center already in place and will work in organizing events including info sessions, province and nation-wide women-oriented workshops to uplift the representation of UFR women students. Summing up, I would like to throw light on the fact that every experienced person was once a beginner like me. And as they say, beginner's mind is a treasure of endless possibilities accompanied with overflowing enthusiasm. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you, ladies. Is there any questions from anyone in attendance? I do have one from the chat. So how will you support and advocate for students who are trans women at the U of R? So which candidate would like to go first?
I can go first on that one.
Sure.
So I think that is an excellent question. So thank you for asking that. I think that it's really important to listen to the voices of trans women. So I will ensure that I have an open line of communication at all times for anyone who is willing to come forward and just discuss anything that I could advocate for to make it a better experience. And in addition to that, I would also like to pair up with various trans women on campus and various leaders in the community to offer different events and specific experiences that will really be beneficial to trans women. I would like to support them as much as possible, and I am a full advocate for trans women. So yeah, thank you.
Okay. Jinpreet, did you have a comment?
Yeah, as I'm aware of the fact that there is a post in URSU for a LGBTQ director, and I think the best way to support somebody is to make them feel heard. So I will put my efforts so that they can feel accepted and heard and reach out to the authorities, as I said. Thank you.
Great. Any other questions from those in attendance? Okay, I'm not hearing any, so if you think of anything, please reach out to these candidates and talk to them directly. You should be able to, actually, you should be able to contact them via their social media. It's just thinking how best to do that. So their profiles are on the website, but if you need to contact them directly, then many of them have social media platforms that you can reach them at. And I know that's in their posters and in that the flipping book, which is like an online bulletin board for each of the candidates. Okay. So we are going to move on then to the Director of International Students. So we have 3 candidates running in this position: Hamid Ali, Harsh Kumar Patel, and Jayant Tyagi. Now, Harsh Kumar couldn't make it tonight due to work commitments, so just the 2 candidates, I believe, are here to talk to you. So we're going to start with Hamid Ali.
Okay, thank you very much, Amber. Can everybody hear me, by the way? Just checking.
Yep, all good.
All right. So my name is Hamad. I am right now a second-year PhD student at the University of Regina. And earlier, I finished my master's here as well. So I've been on this campus for nearly 4 years now. And right from the very beginning, I always thought that the university experience is going to be what I put into it and what I'm willing to gain from it. And my way of getting involved initially was being involved with a lot of volunteering movements. So I was a part of the ambassador program. I actually worked with the UR International, where one of the things I did was work as an international peer advisor. So I'll be paired with international students who feel that they could use some mentoring and advice in their transition once they arrive here. I've also been part of the ambassador leader team for a couple of years. That gave me a lot of experience with organizing events at that scale. And I'm choosing to run for Director of International Students because I believe that our international students often have very unique challenges when they arrive in this country. And there's things that I want to do for them. For instance, I already spoke about the mentoring program that UR International has. I would love to see that happen at a much larger scale. Maybe from the day that a student gets an acceptance letter from the U of R, within a couple of days of that, they also get an email from the appropriate student society about, hey, we heard you're moving to Canada sometime in the fall, and let us know how we can help you. And of course, now in times like these, there's probably I see questions every day from international students from my part of the world who are unsure of what happens when they get admitted, when will they be able to travel to Canada, what happens if they're not able to travel anytime in the next 1 or even 2 years. And there's a lot of room there for bridging a gap between the students who are here, who have made Canada a second home, and the ones who are coming in. And I really want to work towards that. And I will actually leave my email address in the chat as well. So if anybody has any questions that they don't get to ask now, I'll be happy to discuss offline. Thank you.
Okay, great. Jayant, your turn.
Oh, thank you. Hey guys, my name is Jan Tyagi, and currently I'm on second year of my diploma in business administration. So my first year as an international student in Canada was really good because due to the on-campus classes, I got some new friends. I met a lot of new friends, especially Ahmed. I met you, and Ambassador.
You cut out there, Jayant.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, that's better. Yeah, that's
Okay,
good.
sorry for that, guys. So being an international is a really new experience, like for everyone. But I'm looking forward to help every international student, even the students, domestic students. If I can help you in any way, I'm looking forward to it. There are a lot of things which international students got new experience, like even registering for their classes, getting bus pass, used to bus passes, and used to grocery shopping here. So I'm looking forward to help in all the aspects of that thing. And being an international student is hard, but if we do it in a proper way, it could be easier. And that's all for today. And one thing I have learned is like confusion leads to clarity. If you have any questions, you can email me. I will drop my email in the chat. Thank you.
Great, thank you. We do have one question in the chat. So what do you feel the greatest immediate issue facing international students is? So which one wants to answer that first?
I can answer that. I can try to answer that. So first of all, that's of course completely true. Thank you for pointing that out. And when we say international students, that's a very broad spectrum. But I think I've always been told, I have some experience of working in community development, and my teachers of community development have always told me, focus on what brings you together, focus on what you have in common. And I think all of us international students do have, whatever part of the world we're coming from, we do have something in common. We have a home that we miss dearly. We are in a completely new culture, and sometimes we have questions that somebody else does not even think to ask because they've grown up in this environment, in this city, and they just know. So I think we can focus on what's common, that we are here in a new country, we are facing challenges of transition, and there are concrete things that can be done to help another student, help another international student rise to those challenges. Sure, we'll be from all over the world, but then we're all here at U of R and we are one very large family. So there will always be ways we can help. It's something I firmly believe in.
Okay, thank you. Jayant, did you have a comment?
Yeah, sure. Like being an international student is hard. Like every student have a different problem. When I came to Canada, mine was getting used to Canada, like shopping, bus pass, and even like learning how to use Transit Life was very difficult task for me. And I think like some of the students have homesickness, some students have language barriers. For that, we have language classes in your internationals. Then we can have like classes like how to workshops, organizing workshops and events like introduction to using Transit Life. How can you find groceries? Where can you find grocery? Where can you find stuff related to your common life? So I will try my best to help students by providing those events and workshops. Thank you.
Great. So we have another question in the chat. So international students come from different countries and different ethnic backgrounds. It is often impossible to get all of them together. How do you plan to serve all international students rather than those who you are only familiar with? Jayant, did you want to start with that one?
Yeah, sure. So getting used to a new culture is difficult. Even I would love to know about other cultures. When I came to Canada, I only know Indians, but on my second, third month, I know a lot of people from Canada, from Africa, and I think they are really good. If we talk to people, then we know them. So I will try my best to talk to everyone. And if you have any problem, just talk to me. It doesn't matter to which community you belong, or you are an African student or an Indian student or a Bangladeshi student. The thing which matters for me is what problem or issue you are facing. Thank you.
And
Okay,
what I wanted
comment?
I want to say that certainly there will be differences, but I think, like I said, we can always choose to focus on the common. And because if you're international students, there's a few common things that we all know. There's the question of what time is it at home now? I wonder if my parents are awake yet and if I should call them. And starting from that to, I wonder where the nearest grocery is, or how transit even works, or where I can get something. So we're all going to be from different cultures and different backgrounds, but once we're at the U of R, each challenge is unique, but there's probably somebody that has been through those challenges. And I think that's the first thing I learned in my 4 years here is exactly that we are more similar than we actually sometimes believe. We might think we're very different and from completely different parts of the world. Turns out we all feel sad the same way, and the same things tend to make us happy. So there will always be stuff to focus on and then grow from there. So I'll focus on what's in common and what challenges our students are facing, and focus on trying to help them address those.
Okay, so a follow-up to that one then is, what practical steps do you have in mind about how to reach out to international students of all nationalities? Either one of you can go first.
I think I can go first then. So could you repeat the question, sorry?
Yeah, it's what practical steps do you have in mind about how to reach out to international students of all nationalities?
Okay, so I understand that as soon as an international student receives communication from the U of R about them being accepted into a program and when they will be able to start, UR International already starts communicating with the student. That was certainly my experience. And there were actually immense help in the whole visa processing step, where I needed a bunch of other supporting documents. So that means that through the UR International, we might be able to get in contact with these students coming from all over the world and we might be able to find out what exactly they need help with. Personally speaking, when I first moved to Regina, I didn't know anybody here, and just finding a place to live in and figuring out how I'll get from the airport to that place and all of that became much simpler once I was, through my own initiative, able to find a few students that might be able to help, that were able to help. And I think it would be wonderful if we, as URSU, with partnership with UN International, can take proactive steps into making this happen. As soon as we know students from whatever parts of the world are coming in here, maybe through the appropriate student society, like I know we have an Indian Student Association, we certainly have a Bangladeshi Student Society. Through those student societies, we get in touch with the students and find out what they need. Maybe they need help with finding a place to stay. Maybe they have a few questions about, should we stay on campus? Should we not stay on campus? All of that. So UR International is already communicating the professional aspect of things, but students are going to have a lot of other questions. I tease a friend of mine. We've become friends now since in the 2 years he's moved here. But one of his questions to me was, so how much do eggs cost in Canada? And I was like, I'll let you know the next time I go to a grocery store, and I'll keep the receipt. But, I actually understand where the place of nervousness that he was coming from with that question, moving to a completely different country. So I'll just say the concrete step I can think of is partner with the UN International and get in touch with the incoming international students and finding out what service we can provide on top of the professional and academic documents and services that UN International is already providing. Thanks.
Okay, great. Jan, did you have a comment?
Yeah, sure. So for reaching out to every different international student, we can run a program where we can choose students, or any student can apply for it. It's a volunteer program where every student from a different community, different country can apply. Because even if I see from my perspective, I'm comfortable in talking in my language to a student who is same from my country or my state. So we can give options to a student that we have student here who is from your country and he's studying here from 3, 4 years, 2 years, and he can ask them or her any questions about the living style here, grocery shopping, because when you came to Canada, not even food, even the culture is different. So getting used to it is very difficult. Even finding a local store where you can find your international groceries is very difficult challenge. So I will try my best by introducing those programs. And if any student who was not comfortable to talking to any other student, we can then introduce him to a new student, which is from same community or a different community. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we have one more question. What do you think is the role of URSU to international students while we see little collaboration with UR International when serving them? So what do you think URSU's role is in relation to international students?
Oh, I can go
Jan,
first.
want to start?
Yeah, sure. So URSU is not just a platform for the domestic students, it's also a platform for the international students, because URSU is not just a part of university, it's a part which is for the students. So organizing events, getting any financial aid, or if you need any help with the financial budget or your studies, so we can reach out to URSU. And if we relate international students and URSU, so they both are interlinked at a lot of points. If when I came first to Canada, I got used to URSU, not UR International. I get there, even I remember the girl sitting over the desk of URSU. She helped me a lot to apply for my bus pass, to get my student ID. So I think they both are related.
Okay, Hamid, did you have a comment?
Yes. So I was going to say that my experience somehow was quite the opposite of Jant, where when I first arrived here, I was introduced to two former international students that had been here for a while, and they were the ones that helped me with everything, getting my ID, my bus pass. One actually drove me to CIBC downtown to get a bank account. So I would say it seems to me that there's probably also a bit of duplication of effort where URSU and the UI International are probably sometimes offering the same services. But I also completely acknowledge that maybe it does appear that there's not a lot of collaboration. But to me, that also makes sense because UI International is an academic office and they're probably more geared towards academic services. And they're an excellent place for you to go for your conversation practice and conversation club. And they also organize social events. But I think, when you're a student, sometimes it's much easier to open up and discuss your questions, frankly, with another student. And that is where URSU can really come in, is what I believe. So there's definitely some duplication of effort and there's definitely the room for collaboration. And that's something I wish to work on.
Okay, one more question. It has been spoken lately that international students have a fear of being discriminated against within URSU. How do you plan to tackle the issue and respond to the challenge if you face it in the future? Who wants to? You're on the screen, Hamid, so I'll leave it with you.
Did you say me?
Yeah, you're on the screen for me right now, so if you want to start, yeah.
Oh yeah, absolutely, sure. I have to say that well, see, if I'm reading the question, it's in the chat right now. So international students have a fear of being discriminated within URSU. Now, right now, I'm just running to be possibly within URSU if you all decide to vote for me. So I don't know. I cannot speak to anything that's there now. But all I can say is that the question is that if I face it, how I'm going to deal with it. I think this, so first of all, a fear of being discriminated against is something that honestly, probably no international student is completely immune to. But I think we also all treat it the same way. It certainly happened to me. I've faced odd incidents of discrimination on campus, off campus, on a bus ride. And I've always dealt with it the same way, knowing that this is just one person, that for this one person who's giving me a hard time, there's many that have welcomed me and made sure that I feel at home in Regina and in Saskatchewan. And how to deal with it? Yeah, I think focus on, this is one person, who knows, maybe this one person having a horrible day. Let's not assume the worst of it. And if we're talking about something more widespread than that, I have to say that that has never been my experience. But if there's even a handful of students that feel that way, I would always be open to hearing their concerns and doing everything within my power. I like to say to everybody, including Jayant, when we first met, I like to say that this place has become home, and I have a very selfish interest there. I wouldn't like anybody else to say, hey, I don't feel at home at your home. That's not something I'm willing to hear. So if there's anything I can do to address that, I certainly will.
Okay, Jayant?
Yep. On that topic, I'm totally agree with Hamid. Like talking about in classes and online classes, I have met some people like outside the university who are discriminating, but sometimes you have to just do for yourself. And because in life you meet a lot of people, some people are having a bad day, but you have to do it for yourself. But I have met some good people who have teaching me a lot of things and who helped me a lot to overcome those problems. Even when I came to Canada, I stayed for 1 month. I stayed at a house and there was like all kind of people, and I had really have a good experience. Especially, I came to know about a lot of communities. Like about Canada, I love poutine, and about India, people like spicy food. About African, they have good mashed potato. So like every community have a different thing. If we focus if we focus on discrimination, so that's not an issue. We have to overcome it by showing how good we can be if we live together. And in university, I think we have discrimination, but I haven't seen it. If I see it, I will try my best to overcome it. Thank you, guys.
Okay, that's great. So we are going to move on now to the next role up, which is Director of Science. So we have three candidates, Basma Almosalem, Abhi Patel, and Nakul Purohit. So Basma, we're going to start with you.
Sure. Hi, everyone. Sorry. Yeah. My name is Basma Al-Musallam, and I'm a third-year student at the Faculty of Science, studying psychology. I'm originally Syrian. I came to Canada in 2016. Since I came to Canada, I've been involved in several organizations, like the Mennonite Central Committees in Alberta and Ottawa, and the Regina Child and Youth Services, and the Regina Open Door Society. And I think my experience have prepared me well to take on this position. As you may all know, that this year has been rough for all students, especially for the student at the Faculty of Science who are taking classes with labs. I heard that many students are disappointed with the university choice of limited in-person labs, and many think that these skills learned in person labs are essential to their degrees, in addition to the unreasonable amount that student has to do to compensate for what they're missing in their labs, and the lack of access to the lounge. And these are just examples for the struggle that students at the University of Regina are having. So if I get elected, I'll keep encouraging the student union to be more proactive to address the students' concern and fight for the unfair decision that university are making, and definitely working on creating more opportunities to the student to improve their experiences at the University of Regina.
Great, thank you. Abhi Patel, you're up.
Hello everyone, my name is Sophie Patel. Currently I am pursuing my bachelor's degree in computer science and I am a third year student. And as you all know, I'm running for the director's position for Faculty of Science. So I would like to represent myself by saying that I'm not here to make any promises or anything, but I would like to assure you guys, like the students of Faculty of Science, I would like to say to them that if you have any problems or any concerns, I would be more than happy to help and would love to tackle with those problems. And when I say I would tackle them, I just mean that I would act as a bridge between your problems and your solutions. Uh, and by problems I don't mean like if the problem is smaller or bigger, even if it is the smallest problem, like you are having any prerequisites and you cannot select the subject, you can just mail me or whatever it is. So yeah, I would just like to say that I would just like to engage and interact with students from my faculty, and I have also done this before through volunteering and being a peer advisor. Thank you.
Great, Nakul.
Okay. Hello everyone, my name is Nakul Purohit and I'm running for the Science Faculty Director position. I'm excited to represent you and your needs. Also, I have served as Vice President for the Campaign College this year and I'm eager to get more further done. Since COVID, I know how difficult planning for future is. Many of us are looking for jobs, research, volunteering, and extra activities related to the science field. And therefore, I feel I will be, if elected, I will be creating more networking events, information sessions for the research opportunities and further studies. Also, I plan to organize various campus events such as academic workshops, exam jam, and make sure to provide students with sufficient aids and help towards their requirements. Furthermore, I will make sure that URSU is accessible to all the science students. And as always, I'm easy to reach, open to comments, and eager to serve. Yep. Thank you.
Great, thank you, everyone. Do we have any questions for our science candidates? I don't see any in the chat yet. Okay, we don't have any questions. So if you think of anything after the fact, just reach out to the candidates directly to chat with them. So we'll move on now to Director of Graduate Studies and Research. So we should have Aditya Pathak and Muhammad Sheikh here. So Aditya, are you on the phone? Muhammad, are you? Okay, it doesn't look like we have candidates here tonight for this position. So again, any questions for them, please reach out to them directly. So this takes us then, I think, to business administration. My candidates in business administration is Jailin Chen and Karanvir Singh. So Jailin, we'll start with you.
Hi, my name is Jolly Amber Tran, a third-year business student at University of Regina, and I'm running for the Faculty of Business Administration Director. I have been participating in Help Business Student Association in 2019 and 2020. So I really want to be the bridge between faculty and business student and help us to solve the ongoing problems and help improve our business student community. And I know since the COVID, we are still paying the same amount of fee for the program, but we didn't get enough opportunity to do networking events. So as a student representative of URSU, I will connect student group under business faculty and transferring the information amongst one another, providing business insight related discussion on board based on my knowledge, and participate the URSU governors and contribute improvement of internal management. And that's it, like my speech. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Karanvir was writing an exam and might have been late. So Karanvir, are you on the line?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Go ahead.
Yeah. Hey guys, my name is Karanvir Singh and I'm running for the position of the Director of Business Administration. I'm a second-year student of business with majors in accounting. I love to engage with myself with co-curricular activities. As you know, accounting could be little boring sometimes. I used to volunteer in activities around the campus before COVID-19, but you know, this pandemic have dragged us to very difficult times and to the computer screens. Once elected as your Director of Business Administration, I look forward in interacting with all the business students and take all the concerns to the URSU board for the considerations. I'll also look forward to work closely with business society so that I can build a strong bonds between students and their leaders. I'll be easily available for any help, and you can even bother me to help in your balance sheets. And I really hope that on 17th and 18th March, you will vote for Karanvir Singh as your next business director. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Do we have any questions for our business admin candidates? Okay, I don't see any in the chat, so we're going to move on then. Once again, if you think of anything, feel free to reach out to them directly. Thank you, Jailin and Did everybody hear me? I just
No.
got a, you didn't? Okay.
Yeah,
Can you hear me now?
cut out just after the candidate.
Oh, okay. So our candidates then are Xiang Li and Sarov Manjapara for VP of Student Affairs. So Xiang, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Amber. Hello, everyone. I will begin my speech today with a beautiful quote by Dr. Molly Marty. A notable leader answers not to the trumpet calls of a self-promotion, but to the hushed whispers of necessity. Thanks, everyone, for joining us today in this forum. My name is Xiang Li, and I'm running for PD to be your next VP Student Affairs. I've been your VP Student Affairs since May 2020. However, I have been your advocate since I started my journey at the UFR. I've been given the opportunity to meet many students and see and understand the assortment of the perspective on problems such as tuitions, which affects us on a daily basis. As a student representative at University of Regina, my eyes has been opened to the plight of students, including their dealing with the scarcity of food, fear of paying or tuition fees, mental health struggles, or even the inability to afford textbooks. Despite the COVID-19 pandemic, our accomplishments have not been diminished. An invisible virus has shown us many problems and the holes need to be filled. And the students deserve the care and support they need. Notably, we have expanded services such as URSU Cares Pantry, which have become sustainable support for us. With knowledge and experience in student leadership, I want to be your next VPSA and make more sustainable changes. In my platform, I have outlined 4 major areas based on the needs of students at UFR: funding, food security, mental health, and the transparency and accountability. However, my work is not only limited to them. I will be there whenever I see something should be done. My first area of the platform is arranging more funding to student community. Increase the $220,000 in budget on PAC funding, which is project even the conference funding in 2020, in order to provide better support on student-run projects, events. Since we have launched the Community Service Month this March, we're dedicated to make more contributions to our local community by continuing this campaign twice a year. We also want to increase the budget for unpaid work experience subsidy to provide more support to compensate students for unpaid work such as internships, placement, and the practicum works that are required to complete but give no financial compensation. The second area in my platform is secure food for students. After winning this election, last election, I started to receiving text messages from students who are sharing their hardships. They either lost their jobs or worry about how to afford groceries or wish they have better ways to get groceries while almost everyone was scared of catching COVID-19. Students had many questions about their classes, but what bothered them the most was how they could get food on their table. Having experienced it firsthand, I understand the anxieties the student experienced when there were no sufficient resources available for them. At the time, all I could do was to reach out to people for fundraising, get the groceries, and deliver them to students. But it was not enough for sure. As the pandemic became more and more severe, I to the URSU Cares Pantry and opening up the Cares Pantry for the summer semester last year. This year, I want to do even more for you. I want to work hard and add more resources to the URSU Cares Pantry so that you could get a good amount of food every month. Initiate a community fridge program, which allows students to donate their food to our community and to preserve the food even longer under the low temperature. Students can also store their lunch and dinner for themselves. Most importantly, I will assist URSU Garden Project and make sure it provides sufficient produce to our student community. The third area of my platform is presenting new mental health program. Since the beginning of the global pandemic, the mental health conditions of our student community has drastically declined due to the online learning experience, social isolation, and financial hardship, etc. We're looking for the effective, easy approach in mental health programs to better support our student members. Moreover, we're working on the campus-wide peer mentorship program, which support all students to gain leadership and organization skills while supporting students who struggle to transition into their university life. The last area, but not least my platform, is to make URSU accountable. We'll make information easily accessible on the URSU website for URSU members, release monthly information and the leadership newsletter, and the URSU town hall. Creating the honorarium for students who join our board meetings for 3 consecutive times, which is going to help students to get engaged with more frequency in the board, and also provide some support to students who are not able to come due to their financial hardship. You trusted me last year and elected me as your VP Student Affairs. I've kept my promises and worked beyond that just to make sure we're going through everything together. Today, I'm promising a sustainable future of URSU, and not only need your votes, but also need your support throughout the term if elected. On that note, I just want to say thanks for being part of this democratic systems. We'll have a long journey ahead of us, not alone, but together. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay, Sarov? I think I saw you logged on. Are you here? If you're speaking, we can't hear you.
There's nobody called Sarov in the list of participants, and I actually do remember seeing saying that Sarov left at some point.
Okay. My thing keeps muting me for some reason. What is a tangible way that you will advocate for the discontinuation of unpaid internships campus-wide so that URSU student levies aren't being spent on helping companies and workplaces exploit students?
Yes. Thank you for offering this question. And so the purpose of this unpaid work subsidy is to provide students a temporal relief at the time we're advocating for students. So we're definitely going to advocate for students who have who suffers unpaid work experience with local companies in Saskatchewan. But at the same time, we know that this process takes a longer time than our expectation. That's why we're still providing this a subsidy to students who are struggling with their financial hardships.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, I'm not seeing anything, so we're going to move on. So thank you, Sam. And anybody, if you have further questions afterwards, please reach out to them directly. Okay, this leaves us with the presidential candidates. This is always the hot debate, topic of discussion. So we'll finish with the presidential candidates, who are Amir Saeed and Hannah Tate. So Amir, we'll start with you.
All right, sounds good. All right, it's great to be here, everybody. I'm seeing some familiar faces and some new ones, which is always nice. All right, so my name's Amir. I'm in my 3rd year of a BA in English here at the U of R, and I'm running to be your next president. I currently serve as URSU's Vice President in External Affairs, and I'd like to continue my involvement with URSU with more of a focus on student advocacy and long-term strategic planning. So that's why I'm running for president. I've only got 2 minutes though, so I won't dive into my experience too much, but please feel free to ask me anything about my experience afterwards. So my platform revolves around 4 main areas: advocacy for students on important issues, financial and academic support for students, improvements to diversity, representation, and equity, both in URSU and the student body, and increased student employment opportunities. With a potential tuition increase on the way and the university's athletic services continuing to offer a subpar gym experience, I would like to take the lead on advocacy with senior university administration and provincial and municipal government officials to push for the long overdue tuition freeze that several other provinces have in place, improvements to student services, and other significant changes that I think we need to get the U of R up to par with other Canadian universities. With the ongoing COVID-19 pandemic, students have suffered both financially and academically due to employment insecurity, stress, and anxiety. And so as president, I will do everything in my power to improve existing funds URSU offers, create new scholarships and bursaries, and develop new methods to provide students educational support. I've got plans to launch URSU's own tutoring platform to bring us up to speed with the university and other student unions in Canada that offer their own tutoring platforms. And I'm committed to launching it next year with the support of our staff team. I'm very proud of the advances URSU has made in equity, diversity, and inclusion this year, and I hope to continue steering us in the right direction with necessary steps, such as improved awareness on international, Indigenous, and LGBTQIA2S+ culture, both in our organization and throughout the student body, stronger relationships and new partners with groups both on and off campus to facilitate that awareness, and advancements to our recently made EDI committee, or Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, which is meant to facilitate equitable and inclusive improvements to URSU's policies, programs, and events. Finally, lots of the great ideas and campaigns that we've had this year have been brainstormed and launched by our student staff. I have seen firsthand that students offer unique and invaluable perspectives and are eager to learn and adapt and have incredibly strong work ethics. That's a powerful combination that I believe will help URSU both now and in the long term. And to that end, I'm committed to creating several new student employment opportunities at URSU in areas such as, depending on our needs, customer service, IT, event planning, and more. Overall, I believe that my dedication, experience, and passion make me the right fit to be your president, and I hope that I've earned your confidence through my work and ambitions. Thank you so much for giving me the time, and if you have any questions about me, my experience, or my platform, please feel free to ask me either here or on social media. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Hannah.
Thank you so much. Hello, everyone. My name is Hannah Tate. I use she, her pronouns, and I'm a settler currently situated on the territories of the Nahiwak, Anishapek, Dakota, Lakota, and Nakota, in the homeland of the Métis Nation. I'd like to recognize the University of Regina is on Treaty 4 lands with a presence in Treaty 6. I'm a fourth-year student in international business and political science. I have professional strategic and communications experience, and I've been involved in many national and international advocacy projects and work. So the goals of my platform have 4 main areas: renew initiatives and URSU strategies to serve students efficiently, promote equity, diversity, and inclusion practices, empower students by creating a culture of innovation, and advocate for issues faced by students inside and outside of the classroom. This platform is a plan for people. It's a plan for a brighter today and tomorrow. I want to highlight 2 sources of inspiration for my platform. 1, I do not like how things are now. The status quo of higher education is not good enough for students. And I'm tired of operating in this system that was not made for our generation. It wasn't made for students today, and it's not working for students today. The status quo does not address the fact that students have many different roles in their lives. And we have a lot of things going on that impacts our education in the classroom and our future. So the status quo has caused an environmental crisis, growing wealth inequality, marginalization of whole groups of people, a mental health crisis, huge student debt, and a high cost of living. On top of all of this, we're living through a pandemic, and this creates a lot of uncertainty for students. And we are tired of feeling uncertain about our future, and we're tired of being bystanders in our own lives. And we are tired of feeling powerless and feeling like we do not have a voice to make the changes we need. The second source of inspiration is that I believe genuinely with all of my heart that we can make it better. With the right leadership and coordination, we can make it better. We can shape society to fit us. We can be more compassionate and more collaborative. We need to be more strategic, more inclusive, more innovative, We need to be louder. We can make the much needed changes, and we can make the world fit us. We will have our voices heard, and we can make our today and tomorrow brighter. So vote for me in the upcoming election, and together we're going to make our today and tomorrow brighter. Thank you, everybody.
Great, thank you. So do we have any questions for our candidates? I don't have any in the chat yet. Don't be shy. Well, I've never seen this before, so I don't see any questions yet. Oh, there we have. Yeah, okay, I just see it come up. No, that was actually just Hannah's contact information.
No, there is a question from a Nathan.
Yeah, there's a question from somebody called Nathan right above that one.
Oh, sorry, Kate missed that one. Got it. Okay, I recently took a survey from the university and was shocked that the administration used the term other genders in the survey, followed by only asking male-female terms at the end of the survey. As president, how are you going to fight the administration to ensure proper pronoun terms are being used all across the campus? So which candidate would like to tackle that first?
I can go ahead on that one.
Okay, sure.
Okay, sure. So I haven't done anything like so far. I haven't actually experienced that issue myself, to be honest. I thought the university's done a pretty good job, but if that is an issue, that's definitely something to explore. I have noticed that issue within URSU, however, and I did actually make an amendment to all of our documents that used him, her pronouns to be they, them. And so I believe that advocating with the university administration to make a similar change that I've already made in URSU documents to be made on U of R documents moving forward is something that we can definitely do. So that's my attempt to answer that question there.
Okay, thank you. Hannah, did you have a comment?
I did. Thanks, Nathan, so much for that question. So what we're fighting with misusing these pronouns is like timeless. It has been happening for generations. So what we're fighting against is a kind of a ancient Western mindset, and people grew up in a kind of a different environment. And so what we need to do to address this, we need to catch people every single time that they aren't using the proper language or using the proper devices to make it more inclusive. Because we're not fighting for just a different form, we're fighting for social change. And so we need to act like we're making social change. And so changing mindsets is number one priority for me. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. So we're going to move on to the next question. We often see very poor communication from URSU when addressing student problems and advocating for students. How do you plan to, it's kind of cut off, so I'm assuming, how do you plan to improve that? Hannah, did you want to go first?
That sounds good. So I do have pretty extensive experience within communications, and I am really excited to kind of update the way we communicate with students, and we need to go where students are. So for example, social media, and if you want like an example of how I'm hoping to approach this, it's like the more informal Instagram videos that's going to reach students where they are. They shouldn't have to go out of their way to find out this information. So raising these issues and making it easy and accessible. So that kind of more natural communication is going to be a key priority for me.
Thank you. Amir?
Yeah, so I definitely think that we could improve on our communication with students both on social media and through our mass emails. And in addition, I think we can improve on our advocacy with the senior administration, and that's something I'd like to take the lead on as president. I think that more frequent meetings with administration, if time permits, would definitely benefit there. I think that we don't have enough meetings with them, to be fully honest here, and so yeah, something I'd like to push for is more frequent meetings. I do know that we have a new president coming in around June or July. And so I feel like this is a great opportunity for us to form a strong connection with the new president in terms of student advocacy and communication.
Okay, good. Next question, how will you reconcile the reputation of URSU and the general negative association with the current administration? I might ask this individual who asked this to clarify which current administration you mean. Is that the U of R? Is that the URSU staff administration? Or is that the board of directors? Board of directors is the clarification. So the question is, how will you reconcile the reputation of URSU and the general negative association with the board of directors? Amir, did you want to start?
I can. I'm sorry, I'm just a little bit confused about the question. So are you asking about URSU's reputation, like the way the board of directors perceives URSU?
No, I think it's how the student body perceives URSU. So I'm assuming it's a negative reputation of URSU. And so how will you reconcile that reputation of URSU with the general negative association with the board of directors? So I'm assuming the board of directors has left a negative perception of URSU, but I could be wrong. But
okay, well,
I'm just reading what it's saying, so I'm trying not to interpret as much as I can. There's another message here. Maybe that's clarification.
Okay, it's just that the way it's written, I originally thought that it had meant university administration, but if you're referring to the board,
yeah.
But yeah, just to be clear, like there is a board of governors with the university, and so
yeah, that's what I'm trying to figure out. So let's leave this at URSU. So if there's a negative perception of URSU, how do you plan to reconcile that perception?
There's definitely been a lot of controversy with URSU recently, but that's nothing new with URSU. There's always been issues with the student body, with administration, and this term we've done a lot of work to improve that. Obviously, you may have heard that there have been some issues, some controversies, but we've made significant improvements out of those, and that's definitely a major step that we can take forward. And as president, I'd like to be able to lead URSU in that right direction. But again, this is in full honesty here, it's nothing new. These issues always come, and then URSU overcomes them, and it's something I can proudly say.
Hannah, any comments?
Yes, thank you. Thank you for that great question. So there's a couple points that I want to outline here. So one, to improve our reputation, we would need to prove that we deserve the students' trust. We need to show students that we're an organization looking out for people. And so to deserve trust, we need to demonstrate positive actions. We need to show people what steps we're taking to be better. And part of that is transparency and letting people know like what has happened or what we're up to. And for example, the student newspaper is really important to maintaining democracy and accountability on campus, especially because we are held accountable to students. And so, for example, the Carillon or other student groups that express concerns with how things are done, they are doing us all a favor. And just another example of the transparency that I hope to continue if I'm elected as president is I recently did kind of a mock HR interview because I want students to know who I am and I want students to know what we're doing. And so if we're going to increase that kind of relationship of trust and proving that we deserve trust, that's exactly the type of stuff we need to keep working on. Thank you.
Okay, great. We're going to move on to the next question. Over the past number of years, we have seen various URSU presidents respond angrily and defensively when being challenged by students or the Carillon about their shortcomings. This seems like it has a lot more to do with executive members' egos rather than doing what's best for students. How will you make sure that you put a willingness to listen and work for students even when they're angry or unhappy over your ego? So Hannah, you're on the screen, so did you want to start with that?
Yes, that sounds great. I think I touched on this a little bit in my previous answer, but I'm going to admit right now, I'm not perfect. And I have a lot to learn, and I absolutely want people to hold me accountable, because this job is not about my ego, it's about students. And so if someone has, I guess we can call it advice, then I'm going to take that advice and listen to it. And when I think that what we need to focus on is that if someone's criticizing what I've done as president, it's not a personal attack on me. It's an opportunity for improvement. And that's something that I have demonstrated time and time again throughout my academic and professional career. I hope that answers the question.
Okay, thank you. Amir, did you have a comment on that?
Yeah, so basically, I definitely understand the concern, and I personally have experienced this both mainly within URSU. I've been told some things about my own performance, and I've been able to grow significantly from those, and I'm very proud of that fact. So I'm no stranger to having issues, and then taking that constructive criticism to heart and growing from there. So that's definitely something that I would like to go forward with. So I don't want to echo past presidents in that manner. And so when the president speaks to the Carillon, more often than not, they're reflecting the views of URSU and the board rather than just their own. So I would be sure, of course, to incorporate those views rather than just solely my own. But again, I'm very receptive to constructive criticism. I know that through experience, and there's always room for me to grow. So that's my response there. The Carillon has spoken to me. I've always been glad to speak with the Carillon on more than one occasion. And so that's a pattern I'd like to continue.
Okay, thank you. Next question. What are your views about Proctortrack? Amir, you can start.
Hang on, where's that question? So basically with Proctortrack, as you all may know, URSU has launched a campaign against Proctortrack. It's been pretty significant. So my personal views, I'm very strongly opposed to it. I personally haven't had to use it, but I've heard from students who have failed assignments, had to drop classes, or failed exams, I should say, because of Proctortrack. And so I know how serious of an issue it is. And moving forward, I know that Proctortrack will most likely still be in place if we don't do something about it. And so that's why we have been advocating extensively as a current URSU executive team. And I'd like to continue that advocacy and steer it in the right direction and hopefully make a positive change for students, not only with administration, but with the professors who make the professors make their own individual choices to use Proctortrack. Thanks to I don't want to credit our campaign entirely, but at the end of the semester, only 2% of final exams were using Proctortrack, and that number was higher before. So it's through word of mouth with URSU. It's through word of mouth from our campaign, from professor to professor. They're talking to each other. So I believe our campaign has been effective so far. We haven't been able to eliminate Proctortrack entirely just yet, but it's something that I do potentially see happening. If it's not us being able to convince administration, it's us being able to convince those individual profs who are using it. So to answer your question, I personally am strongly opposed to it, and I want to continue the campaign. But there is a referendum coming up where we'll be asking students if they want us to continue with the Proctortrack campaign, and so we'll see what the students have to say.
Yes, at the end of this session, I'll get Carl to talk a little bit about the 2 plebiscite questions that are on the ballot, one of them being that. Hannah, did you have comments?
Yes, I absolutely do. So this is actually a topic I'm really passionate about. I've been a digital citizen advocate and ambassador for about 2 years now. So digital rights are increasingly important in our school, but even in the larger society. So I have had to use the invasive technology on multiple occasions for my exams. And I've written letters to administration and to various groups. But you know what I won't do is I'm not going to confront my own professor and risk my own grades. So that's what a student union is for. It's for being that bridge between professors and students to take that pressure off students. So students aren't going to be scared that they're going to get targeted or get worse grades because of them complaining about Proctortrack. And one thing I would like to point out is when I was in contact with the university administration, they said, well, you know, it's only a few people using it. And I absolutely hate that, because I was one of those people using it on multiple occasions. And so it's not okay if it's just a few people. And so what I'm hoping to do is raise awareness over what Proctortrack actually means and demonstrate the precedent that it sets for students in larger society. But it's important to recognize that this invasive technology is not just used in university. International students, I've heard, have to take language assessments, and they have to undertake that invasive like program to do their program. And so it's a larger societal issue. So I'm going to approach it as a larger societal issue. So what I'm planning on doing is establishing a working group or a committee within the student union, a digital advisory committee that's going to look at the ramifications of using this invasive technology, and also evaluating the wider knowledge of students in the digital space. And another aspect that I'm hoping to undertake is call for an actual training for professors that are planning to undertake or planning to give proctored exams. So I don't think professors fully understand what they're asking students to do or what the implications of that is. And I know that some of my professors have said, I don't really know about this, and we'll see how it goes. And that is completely inappropriate. And they are absolutely experts in their own field, but they are not digital experts. They're not cybersecurity experts. And so I do want to hold them accountable, but I also want to inform them of what's happening. And I could actually talk about this so much more, but maybe I'll leave it at that, and definitely send me an email, because I've got a lot of thoughts on that.
Okay, we'll move to the next question. I'd like to ask what you as presidents wish to do when certain media articles give more weight to the internal issues rather than the efforts that URSU puts in advocating for students. So Hannah, we'll start with you.
So this again is a fundamental aspect of democracy. So when people are in a position of power, they need to be held accountable. And so maybe it'd be a little bit sad if someone called out internal behavior, but ultimately it's their job to do that. And so I would hope to be able to address those issues with the Carillon and with the student body. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to make sure the Carillon hears about all of the positive things we're doing. I'm going to send them emails all the time about the amazing things that my fellow executives would be doing, or what the board is doing, or what the wider community is doing, because I'm sure that it's not fun to give bad news. And so transparency is a really big part of my platform. So if the media is saying something, it's probably because it's a concern of the general student population. Thank you.
Thanks. Amir, did you have comments?
Yeah, so this kind of ties into something I said earlier, but there's always been those issues with the Carillon and URSU. More often than not, I'm willing to confidently say that at least 80% of the articles that the Carillon puts out are negative when referring to URSU. And simply, I can understand where they're coming from there, because that certainly draws more attention to them, more clicks. But at the end of the day, I think that it's important, kind of like Hannah said, it's important to kind of hammer the point down that they need to know the good things that we're doing. We work very hard on our social media with our mass emails and with our events to get the student body to know what we're doing. And so when the Carillon publishes an article portraying us in a bad way, but then we use our social media, our extensive social media following, our mass emails, our events, our programs, our campaigns, our services, all those to show students that we're doing the right thing. And then the Carillon doesn't want to write about those, then I think that we're doing a great job showing students those services ourselves. And I don't think that we can change what the Carillon wants to write about us, to be honest, because recently there haven't been any good articles about URSU, but it's something that we can definitely work on through increased communication with the Carillon. I would love to sit down and talk to some of their writers, their editor-in-chief, and just, just get to understand, get to understand how they could write better things about URSU. I definitely think there is potential for a more constructive relationship there.
Okay. Next question. Considering the productivity of the union, students, a second, went down. Okay. Considering the productivity of the union, students have a concern that URSU spends way extra amount of money on operations, including staffing. Do you have any plans to spend students' money on students? Amir, do you want to tackle that?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that one. So URSU does have an extensive staff complement, but in my opinion, I believe that this staff complement is ultimately necessary for URSU. The staff that we're hiring, the work that they do directly goes back and benefits URSU. We have our staff helping the executive with our campaigns, our platforms, our services, our financial offerings, and all that. So the services that staff offer, basically when URSU uses student money to fund staff, that funding is going back to students. The work that staff do is for students. So I would say that money is being spent on students. Furthermore, we have opened up some so we are recruiting a student right now, actually, and a big part of my campaign, which I said in my platformal speech, is increased student employment. And so using those student fees to hire students that then do work back for students is a huge part of that as well. So to answer your question, I believe that the way that our staffing and funding already works, the funds are going towards being spent on students. But so basically what we're currently doing, in addition to hiring more students in a sustainable manner, I think is the right way to approach that issue. I hope that's the answer you're looking for.
Okay, Hannah, any comments?
Yes, thank you. Thanks for that question. So permanent staff are extremely important for the long-term outcome of the student union, because we see that, for example, a lot of board directors or executives stay for 1 or 2 years. And so the permanent staff offer a sense of stability in the long run. And additionally, all of these permanent staff are experts in their field. And when a student is on the board or an executive position for maybe the first time, or this was one of the more professional roles that they've held, they need that kind of guidance and training and that experience imparted to them through the permanent staff. And so they offer a lot of benefits in that way and in terms of developing the board and the executive. So that's something we really need to work together on. And sorry, I'm just looking at the question again. So I do have plans to spend students' money on students by making sure our student leaders are prepared by taking advantage of the permanent staff that we have. Thank you.
Okay, great. So we're going to go on to the next question. How can you ensure safety of students within the classroom? I'm an Indigenous woman in a male-dominated field and have felt unsafe in classrooms, both online and in person. When I have brought my concerns forward to the prof instructor, I have left the conversation feeling worse or like my experience was invalidated and I'm exhausted by it. Hannah, did you want to start?
Yeah, that sounds good. Well, first off, I'm so sorry that happened to you. That kind of toxic environment is absolutely exhausting, exactly as you said. And it's important to realize that this kind of treatment doesn't stop when it's online. And so what I want to make sure is to empower students by being that link between a professor and a student. And it's tough because when you feel invalidated, it makes you question yourself and like obviously that's going to cause like further difficulties with mental health or even like classroom performance. So it's an issue that I believe the student union has a very big part in. So what I would honestly do is like, come talk to me if I'm elected, and I'm going to go and talk to that professor and explain to them how that impacts students. And of course, it would be completely anonymous, depending on whatever that person needed, because it does feel vulnerable, and I've zero tolerance for any of that kind of behavior. Thank you.
Hey, Amir.
Yeah, so that is definitely a serious issue there. So kind of like Neil just said in the chat there, we have a student advocate that's always more than happy to help with these things. If elected, I would like to work closely with our Vice President of Student Affairs and our student advocate to kind of facilitate increased awareness on those issues. So while that's technically not something that URSU has direct control over, we can spread awareness about these issues through meetings with administration, meetings with faculty members, classroom talks, and just, sitting down and talking to students. We do offer a Coffee with Execs program as well, where, concerned students can sit down with us, have a chat with us, or you're free to send emails to the exec or student advocate whenever. But issues like these, we always want to hear them. And there are so many ways, like I just mentioned, that we can facilitate increased awareness and general safety overall for all students.
Okay, great, thank you. Assad, I think I'm going to pass over your question because we've had this twice now similarly. So I think both the candidates have covered their how they'll handle the Carillion and negative publicity moving forward. So we're going to go to the next question. What are your plans on making international student voices heard and giving them a better representation? So Amir, do you want to start?
Yeah, for sure. While I myself, I'm a Canadian citizen, I do have an extensive international background. I've gone to school in 3 countries. I speak 3 languages. And so anyways, I think that there is definitely room to improve there. I think that working closely with UR International and various student clubs and student centers can help to promote those voices of international students. And kind of like I mentioned in my little speech, I think that there is definitely room to promote issues about international culture, international lives, international, different international peoples, because the U of R has a very diverse campus. URSU has a very diverse membership. And so I definitely think it's very important that we increase awareness about that diversity within our student body. And so, yeah, I think, outreach, events, workshops, there's so many different ways that I would like to move forward with working with, UR International, student clubs, student associations, like I said, to kind of promote that representation. Furthermore, this year we have launched our Equity, Diversity, and Inclusion Committee, and we're looking to get members at large to sit on that committee and kind of give their own unique perspectives on, different cultures, diverse backgrounds. And so if that's something you'd be interested in, please reach out to exec@ursu.ca. It's a brand new committee, but we're getting it off the ground strong. And next year, I'd like to lead that committee in the right direction even more. So that's a great way for you personally or anybody who'd like to get involved with giving international students a stronger voice involved with URSU. Thanks.
Great. Hannah, any comments?
Yes, please. So that is a great question. And I guess like Amir, I have experience being like an international student. I completed high school and some university in Australia. And obviously I was a white person with English speaking skills living in a majority of white people who spoke English. So my experience is limited in that way. But what was difficult about being an international student was people looking at you to be a spokesperson for your country of origin. And I think that pressure is emotionally tiring. It's exhausting because I don't speak for all Canadians, and just as the same way as like a lot of our Indian students don't speak for all of our Indian students. So I think that we need to reframe this issue as it's not like an international student problem. It's a university campus problem. It's a problem that all of us need to work on. And so by coordinating with, for example, the board of director that's elected, whose specific goal is to represent those international students and the diverse perspectives. I think we're going to be able to get a good look and get a good understanding of what sort of barriers they're facing. And also a part of my platform is more research and more investigation into the institutional barriers that are faced by diverse groups. And so I'm hoping to take a proactive approach. And while 100% the individual voices are going to be valued, but it's not an international student's job to speak on behalf of their whole country, because that is a lot of pressure and it's exhausting. So ultimately, it's just about building a culture of inclusion. Thank you.
Okay, I think we've come to the end of the questions and we've gone quite a bit over what we normally do for this session. For either candidates, do you have any last comments to make? Closing comments at all?
It looks like there's one more question in the
Oh,
chat.
there is another one snuck in there?
Yeah, kind of last minute.
Okay. Increasing tuition is extremely concerning, and especially this year. How do you think URSU will advocate on the increased tuition? I'm guessing, how do you think URSU should advocate on the increased tuition? Hannah?
Yes, thank you. So in my platform, I've outlined that I want to increase the amount of public funding available for universities. And this is tough, but our university employs a huge group of people, very highly educated professors. It employs students, and the people who are going to get their jobs cut first are going to be the student employees working for the university. So while raising tuition is probably what they're going to do, I think we need to take it to the government. We need to demonstrate to the government that students are going to be the future of the workforce, and that public funding needs to be higher, because students can't take it, the university itself can't take it. So I'm looking to collaborate and like really lobby the government for giving students the supports that they need and giving the university the supports they need as well. And I'd also like to, more broadly, the cost of education. So tuition is only a very significant part of the cost of education, but in my platform, I've also outlined some ways that we can help students that have student loans. So my first step, and I'm really excited about this one, is I'm looking to get rid of the accumulation of interest for the 6-month period after graduation. So right now, after students graduate, they have 6 months to start repaying their loans, but during that 6 months, interest is accruing that whole time. And that seems absolutely ridiculous. And so I want to put a stop to that. And for example, I believe it's BC, student loans have very different interest structures. And so students shouldn't be paying interest to borrow money to make themselves more productive members of society. So that's one way that I'm going to lower the cost. And just one more thing that I'm really excited about is in 2016, the Canadian government got rid of the tax credits for university students paying for textbooks. And I want to bring that back. So a tax credit would mean it gives you a little bit of a break with how much money you need to pay back. And I know you're all thinking, what? University students don't make a lot of money. That's why I'm going to be advocating for carry forward or transfer credits. So that means after you graduate, you can get that credit back for all the textbooks that you bought. And I'm really hoping to get some of the digital subscription materials that professors make you get to, say, hand in assignments. I'm hoping to get that included as well into this tax credit idea. And so I am very aware of the whole cost of education, and I'm approaching it in some big ways, but also in some little ways to make actual progress on it. Thank you.
Great. Amir, any comments?
Yeah, thank you. So we're just exiting. Well, fingers crossed. We're just exiting out of a global pandemic here. I don't believe that now is the right time for a tuition increase. If I'm not mistaken, the U of R currently has the fourth highest tuition out of any university in Canada. Again, don't quote me on that. But so I don't believe that now is the right time for a tuition increase. We have recently met with the Minister of Advanced Education of Saskatchewan to kind of talk about that, see if we can facilitate that. And that's something I'd like to continue doing, advocating with provincial government authorities on that end. I would like to see a tuition freeze put in place. It's been a long-term goal of URSU's. I know that the provinces of Manitoba, Quebec, Newfoundland, and Alberta already have tuition freezes in place. I think it's time for Saskatchewan to catch up on that regard. So, strong advocacy in that field. I believe that tuition freeze is possible, and I believe now is the right time to get it. The university does employ a lot of staff. The university does use that tuition, but I don't believe that justifies increasing that tuition. And so I believe that the solution here is increased advocacy. And this year, I think, is the year that we're going to do it.
Sorry, I was muted. This is going to be the last question I take tonight for the candidates. So has the tuition increase already been agreed upon by the Board of Governors? So Amir, did you want to, or is this an URSU question perhaps?
I'll just add on it, Amber, if you say. So it is something that is due for May's board meeting. The budget will be approved in the first week of May by the Board of Governors. So it is something that we will be looking at after 2 months.
Okay, great. Okay, for the two presidential candidates, any closing comments? I'm assuming yes. So Anna, I see you came off mute, so go ahead.
Okay. So kind of, I guess, aside from the election, one reason that I wanted to run this campaign and be involved like this is because we need more people to step up for election. And honestly, if I can do it, anybody can do it. So I want to see everybody in this room running for a position next year, because that's what's going to make URSU stronger. And that's what's going to help our reputation. That's what's going to actually drive real change. If we have a lot of people running for positions, a lot of people engaged, URSU is going to be better off, and the whole student population is going to be better off. So I encourage everybody to step up, and because I know it's in you, and I know you will all be great leaders. So that's really why I did this, I guess, but I'm really hoping more people will get more engaged. Thank you very much for listening tonight, everybody.
Thank you. Amir?
So yeah, I'm so glad you guys could all come out. Thanks for listening to my little spiel. So I know you've all heard that URSU's had some, bumps on the road, but I think that overall this has been a very good year for URSU. I think that this is the start of very good things to come. I'll let you guys know that we've been working on our strategic framework at URSU recently, making some very significant amendments to kind of support students, improve the organization internally. And I'm very excited for those upcoming long-term goals. And so yeah, once again, thank you all for coming, and vote on March 17th and 18th.
Great, thank you. Okay, so Carl, I'm going to put you on the spot. Did you want to talk briefly about the two plebiscite questions?
Thanks, Amber. Yeah, so as part of the ballot for the general election, there will be two plebiscite questions. They are not referendum questions. But they are simply questions that were approved by the board, whereby the URSU board is looking for some direction on the two major campaigns that they've been working on in the past, and just looking whether URSU should continue down the same path that they have been, and whether they should continue that advocacy, step up their efforts, and or dedicate more resources to that. So there'll be one question with respect to Proctortrack, and one question with respect to advocating for either amending or abolishing the university recreation and athletic fee.
Okay, great. Okay, so just a reminder then that voting takes place on March 17th and 18th. Students will receive an email with a link to the online voting. When you get that link, please don't hit delete. Go in there and exercise your vote. That's how your voice is heard. This is a ranked ballot voting system, so pay close attention to the instructions at the start when you're voting for each candidate. You are selecting candidates in your order of preference. Any questions on the voting process? Okay, I'm not hearing anything. Yeah, so just get out there and vote, you guys, on March 17th and 18th. It's really important for the students, and it's, you know, it shows some great support for the students that have come out tonight to actually run in this election. As I mentioned in my chat, it takes a lot of courage and commitment, and that's a respect that I have for all the candidates. So with that, I'm closing this out, so have a great evening, and thank you, everyone.
Good luck, everybody.
Amber, have a
Everybody.
good
Good night, everyone. Thanks.
Nice to meet you.
Thank you all.